opinions stated in this podcast do not reflect the opinions of the Alestle or SIUE as a whole. Welcome back to another episode of Alestle After Hours. Sam here joining you, and we have two special guests. We have Paris Thomas and Gavin Quinlan, or Gavin 2, depending who you talk to. Two reporters join me today on today's show. It's gonna be a fun one, I think. Guys, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Doing pretty good.
So we have lots to talk about. A bit of a debate session today. Don't want to call it debate, but we'll kind of call it that. But first, let's give you some updates from the Alestle newspaper. Obviously, since we have reporters, they kind of wrote some stories for us. We'll start with Gavin, who had one story about building history. Gavin, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in my article, I looked into the history behind the names of all of the buildings on campus, mostly the main big ones like the Muck, Dunham Hall, Lovejoy Library, things like that, and explained a little bit about the namesakes of these buildings and the history behind the people who helped start SIUE and were important to this area.
Yeah, was there like one that just stood out? Like, is that really true? Like, did you have to like double check and do your like fact checking of like most interesting?
There was a lot of stuff about Catherine Dunham that I thought was interesting. Like, she was a cultural ambassador to Senegal at some point. That one really caught me off guard. And also the Vidalabine Center. Just looking into that one, Sam Vidalabine was a state senator, which I didn't expect. I was expecting a coach or something like that. But also looking into that was SIUE's first official athletic facility, because before I was delighted to learn they used to have bubble gyms, which were just big inflatable sort of bubble buildings that they'd use instead of gyms that ended up getting destroyed in snowstorms and things like that.
That's just crazy. By the way, shout out another Sam out there with achieving great things. But no, that's kind of crazy about the like portable gyms, basically. Like,
yeah.
Like, what about like most boring? Did any building get like kind of, I don't know, the short end of the stick on the names?
Well, I mostly tried to focus on the main sort of academic buildings, and I left a few out originally when I turned the story in. And then Dylan Hembrough told me, to go back and maybe look into like Metcalf Theater, Burger Hall, and things like that. And Metcalf Theater was kind of interesting because that was named after the father of Laurie Metcalf, who played Sheldon's mom on Big Bang Theory and Andy's mom in the Toy Story movies. I thought that was pretty fun. But Burger Hall was just named after a guy who donated a lot of money to SIUE, and I cover that in the story also. There are plenty of facilities on campus that are just named after dudes who spent a lot of money on the school.
Yeah, I mean, you either do big things or you have big pocketbooks, I guess, and that's how you get your name on a building. But that wasn't the only story. Obviously, we have Paris, who had a few. So let's go to digitizing photos next. Digitizing photos, what was that one about?
Digitizing photos, it was very interesting story that I was able to cover. So my story was kind of a sequel to the story that was written previously. It's about a program here that's led by history professor Jeff Manuel, where him alongside a team of his students and also a collection of people in the library, they work on digitizing these old photos that they have in the archives. So it can range from stuff from the 1950s but also to the 1800s. And alongside photos, they also keep archives of literally every record that we have. So organization members all the way back to the SIUE's inception and so on and so forth. So for me, being a history person, it was very interesting to do, but also I was able to have my story focus main so on the purpose of doing it, which they express is to have these photos be immortalized forever, that instead of potentially compromising, messing up the original photos, you can have it on the internet for people to see. So it preserves a piece of history while also preserving the actual historical piece.
Yeah. It's nice because, like, I'm sure it gives more access to people, too, where it's not just stuffed in a box in the basement of the library, and it could be more widely available to people to see.
Especially in a world where internet is just the hub of all students and all professor lives. Now they can see interesting stuff that even if you're not a big history person or your history major, you can see old stuff from the campus and from the area that we're in, which I think is pretty neat.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, did you also either get to talk to or get to hear about the new archivist, correct? Their SIUE has, the library has a new archivist.
Yeah, I was able to talk to
I believe Zach Palazich, I believe, or Palazich. I might be mispronouncing that.
Yeah, I was able to talk to Zach Palazich and basically get not only what he does in his position, but also just overall vibe, because he is a recently hired one, and he was able to give a bunch of extensive insight when it came to it. And some things that, like, what people don't know from the last story is the fact that we don't have a archivist that can help with the metadata. It actually transferring photos on the website. So now it's like they're digitizing these photos, but they don't have
a means to get it to the website. Yeah, so they're still working on that part. But I mean, still, it's impressive that they're now getting some of these old photos digitized at least. But no, it was a really cool story. And well, you know what, that kind of takes us to our main event. Speaking of contention in our culture, let's talk about some contention here on the SIUE campus. So obviously you are both reporters. I wouldn't say you've been here as long as I have, obviously, but you've definitely been here for a little while now. I'm sure you have formed some opinions about our amazing school.
Certainly.
Wow, Gavin on the jump there. No, but let's I'm going to propose some debates. Some are kind of like a current event. Some are developing events. Obviously, we have everyone's favorite. We have the logo change, obviously. We'll start off with that because everyone knows. But I want your guys' view. You guys are we have a freshman here in the studio. Paris, you're a sophomore, correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we got some varying ages and opinions on this. We have the current SIUE logo, all capitals, letters, or we have the SIUE little e and the old cougar as well. What are your guys' thoughts on rebranding? And let me pose it to you this way as well. Is rebranding worth it in general? Do you like it when a school rebrands? And do you like what SIUE did to rebrand?
I think any big change like that is going to bring a lot of controversy in general. I don't think there's going to be any sort of rebranding for any school or company or anything like that just kind of goes over easily. That being said, I always liked the Little E better. I'm a little biased because I have an older sister who used to go here, and that's kind of one of the reasons I came down here. And when she was still going here, it was still kind of the Little E, and they still had a lot more of the art installations around campus, things like that. And they kind of slowly started the process of rebranding and everything, kind of as she was on her way out and I was on my way in. So I'm kind of biased towards when I first saw the campus and I first started kind of enjoying it. That was one of the things that drew me in was I was kind of charmed by the branding, I guess.
It's funny you say that. So the first time SIUE visited my high school, because local high school, so they'd send a representative out to try to recruit us. They had the little E color folder, but it wasn't orange, but it was like an off shade of red, so it looked orange. And then I remember showing up here and it's just this bright red, and I'm like, what happened, guys? What midlife crisis did you go through?
You see, yeah, I'm with Gavin because when my family was coming here when I was little, I always remember the little E and kind of like you said, like that off shade red. I think for the student body is one of the changes where it's like, what's the point of change, but it don't really be important. I know for probably the board, that little change probably could make it more of importance, whether it's a search engine thing or so forth. But I do think a lot of students, especially who are they're tapped into what's going on, they kind of have criticism not with the rebrand itself, but the fact is okay, this is a minuscule rebrand from a big E to lower E, but you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on said rebrand.
Yeah,
from
try millions.
Yeah, from
from
an E to little E, which especially in a polarizing time where students, I know a lot of students where I talk to, just casually, they kind of be resources and stuff parking issues, and it's you take a lot of money from us parking, take a lot of money from us housing, take a lot of money from us educational wise, but then you're able to spend millions of dollars to rebrand from a capitalized E to lowercase e or vice versa.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what a lot of students push back on it. It's not the actual rebrand itself, it's the fact that it kind of feels unnecessary given the circumstances that they're in.
I'm glad you said that because I was actually going to build off that. So I totally agree with you. I like the little E. It's okay. It's not my favorite logo I've ever seen in terms of college logos. What I liked about it was unique. That's what I liked about it. Now, I will say, as for the Cougar logo itself, it's a cool vintage logo. I like the current one better. I know a lot of people say it's okay. I think the current logo looks better Cougar-wise. And what you said, Paris, is perfectly spot on in my opinion. The fact that they rebranded doesn't bother me. Every 4 years, you have a brand new scope of students. And yes, the ones that are phasing through it right now, it's kind of painful. But now I think it actually does look better. Like if you look at the logos around, I think the school's marketing is really good. I just think you're right that it costs so much money when there's a lot of other problems that need addressing, basically.
Yeah, and I did an article, not for this one, but I think our last issue, where I got to sit down with the former president of AFSCME 2887, Amy Bodenstab, and in that she was talking a lot about the funding too, and how people aren't getting paid the right amount, and the union's having trouble negotiating with administration and all of these things, and they're using it to, make it an uppercase E and give us a prettier looking cougar instead.
And I think a lot of times the common people too, they don't really realize like how extensive the rework or reconstruction has to be when you rebrand, even with something so little like the E. Like that means all the buildings where the little E is there, they have to remove that. That means all the stuff that's on the poles when you come in, they gotta redo that. All the even the muck in their designs, they have to redo that, which again, to a lot of people, they don't really notice that, because if you come in new, that's all you know. If you come in old, it's just like, okay, they kind of changed and updated it, but they don't really realize how much money and cost that is going behind these projects.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to skip around on my list here. That was a great first topic. Let's go to advising. This is a big controversy a couple of years ago, probably when I first got here. And I'm sure everyone's dealt with advising hiccups, but my proposition here is advising purely an advisor problem, or is it also a bit of a student or I would say a student problem where they just aren't doing enough of the research themselves, or is it SIUE's fault not supplying advisors / making systems easy enough?
I think on the surface, you can say like both advising and advisors is at fault. But the only reason why they're at fault is because of the SIUE system and how it's orchestrated. Because for the advisors, they kind of get the short end of the stick, is because since SIUE is not really providing a good interface for students to go through their classes easy, nor try to find specific classes that they need for their major easier, more accessible, so they can be more prepared. It forces the advisors to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And if you're an advisor and you have hundreds and hundreds of students, you got to make sure that it's right, but it doesn't factor in actually the students' lives as well. Like, okay, what if they work this? What if they're commuting from this? So it creates a very complicated and confusing time, which is frustrating for both the students and their advisors, but I think it's mainly on the SIUE interface. Like, I know specifically one problem is when you have like honor students, which I'm an honor student myself, but I still kind of think it leads to some issues. When you have honor students who can apply early, when you have certain things that can apply early,
it's confusing.
It's not bad, but it can also lead to a lot of people going behind, because if there's majority of honor students, if they're in a nursing major, if you're a normal nursing student who's not in honors, a lot of your classes can get pushed back to unfavorable times, or
just filled, right? Yeah, completely.
Or just filled completely, even though you're a nursing major too, but because, majority of honors can be nursing.
Right, because they're academically well off, right? Yeah, I think I think you're right. The system itself is not great. I do put a little bit of blame on students myself. I just feel like I feel like it's the students that, yes, they get left behind and the ones that'll gripe, but they're not either A, they're not griping to the right people where it's not affecting change or not putting enough pressure on SIU to make change, or B, they're just griping because they didn't do it themselves.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm with Paris here. I think it's kind of a mix of students and advisors and kind of the system as a whole, because you'll definitely hear advisors complaining about having their own gripes with the system that they have to deal with. But also a big part of it is that students kind of have to self-advocate when they pick their classes and kind of plan out their schedule, not just for the next semester, but for the next couple of years for their whole plan to getting their degree. So there's definitely a level of planning that goes into it for the students and also the advisors. There needs to be a lot more communication than I think people maybe realize at first.
I just think it's like a Rube Goldberg machine where like all the faults kind of make a circle with them, because you can have a student who really don't care, just coasting, going with the flow, and their schedule end up getting messed up because of the lack of attention that they brought. So they put it on their advisors, and the advisors got a lot on their plate. But then if SIUE's fault is making it difficult for a student who's actually trying to get a good schedule go there. So when they go to the advisor's already flustered, and they just thinking, oh, you're like the other student who is just coasting and really don't care about his schedule. So it all
Pitters off of each other. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. You're listening to Alestle After Hours, the official podcast of the Alestle. For all our news stories, check out alestlelive.com, as well as our social media on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Again, you're listening to Alestle After Hours. Back to the show. Okay, well, we fixed that one right here in studio. SIUE, tune in. How about this next one, though? Is campus underappreciated? For example, I said, like, the SIUE gardens. We have so many other buildings here that are, I know people use, but I don't feel like the school advertises them very much. Is campus underappreciated, or do you think that SIUE takes advantage of the land area that they have?
So kind of talking about the things that kind of drew me in with the Little League and everything, that was a big part of it too, was just how much land and sort of nature is around SIUE and the campus. I loved the trails, the bike trails, how walkable everything is. And I think, honestly, it's really easy to underestimate just how much land SIUE has. And I think it could maybe be utilized more for the students, maybe in that sort of way. Like I just discovered recently a walking trail that I never knew existed between, I think, Prairie to, I think it goes out to like by the soccer field back there. And it's not advertised at all. They've just got a little sign back there, and that's it.
The sign that's like half crooked off.
Yeah. It's so beautiful, like in the fall time and everything. And I don't know. I feel like we should take advantage of that a little bit more.
Yeah. I agree with Gavin. I feel like, especially since the university kind of like is known for kind of this openness nature-wise.
Yeah, it's known for being on a reserve.
They need to like be more, like they need to put more attention on the spots that you don't know. Because I remember last year when I stayed in Bluff, I was able to find that trail. And I know for a lot of students with the spots that they do know, they do occupy it.
Yeah,
like
they right. You're right. Like if it's well known, they congregate there.
Yeah. But like you said, with SIUE, their land mass and stuff, and the amount of land that they have on campus is so big that we only got the fraction of it. But on the good note is the fraction that we do know, people use it a lot. So if we just put some more attention on the other fraction, people will use it.
Absolutely. I'm of the mind of like, I think that they do a good job, like when they're drawing, like what you said. What draws students in? Oh, it's one of the largest campuses in the country, blah, 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 blah. And we have all this stuff, and we have this and that, and that's great. But then it's like you get here, and I'm like, where is it? Or like, not even like, where is it? Like what you said, like there's these trails that no one knows about. But why not put like an event there? Like, oh, it's through the walk through during fall while leaves are falling. You know, like I feel like we have the 57 things, and obviously I get why it's 57, but it's like sometimes it's like some of those things are, you cross that off and like change it out a little bit, add additions to it.
Even with, aside from the gardens, we have so much like open land plots just
right
on the campus where you can make an event like a mini marketplace or like a kickball game, something that can entice people to go to these areas and locations.
And I think they do a little. Like during homecoming, I know like they do a bonfire in a certain area, which is nice. And I know they do have some limitations because it's unreserved of like what they can do. But still, like you said, you kind of work with it. And I think if they did that year long or semester long, it would make it much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Okay, this is my favorite one. We have, if Chancellor Minor was to retire or move away or stop being Chancellor, who would you pick celebrity-wise to be the Chancellor of SIUE? Pick any celebrity.
This one's a thinker.
This one is a thinker.
Yeah. I think the first person that came to my mind, and God rest his soul, would be like Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, that's cool.
Ooh.
Because I feel like as a chancellor, he got the, like...
He has the charisma,
Yeah.
for sure.
Obviously with acting, like, you have so many different ranges just off that, but able to be, like, serious, but also be personable and stuff as well. I think he would have been a good pick.
Okay, Paris is thinking, like, really good all around. I was thinking funny, completely. I
had some funny picks, but... Like,
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking, like, Steve-O for chancellor.
Yeah. I do like Chadwick Boseman though. You're right. It would be he would be perfect because he does have again that charisma. But
It's a good choice. My first thought, just going off of funny alone, was Gilbert Gottfried. Just thinking about like the voices he would do. Like,
welcome to commencement. Yeah, that was a terrible impression. Oh man, that is a great choice. I don't know. I was gonna say someone like Ryan Reynolds, because to me he has the look of like he's very buttoned up, fancy, but like then every other day he shows up as Deadpool, because just him as Deadpool make it so unserious. Not that Ryan Reynolds is the funniest person I know, but I just think that would be funny to see the Chancellor in a Deadpool suit. But we unfortunately do not have any of those people as Chancellor. Although I think it would be interesting to see like not button up academic someone as Chancellor, someone that's a little more, I'm sure they're out there, they just don't get enough spotlight and media attention. But okay, how about I turn it over to you? Do you have a topic to debate, to propose?
ooh.
I definitely, this is just a personal take that I have kind of with honors. I think with honors it kind of needs just some regulation, probably some retweaks.
Yeah.
Because if you think of the requirement, the 3.2 is not that bad. But when you also require
50 service hours and all that other stuff. Yeah.
community service hours, and also the extent of the classes that you're taking, and some people are taking extra credits.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a situation where you can have all A's and B's, but depending on the credit of the classes, you can end up with a 3.0 or 3.0 or 3.1.
Yeah.
So, like, you could technically get kicked out of honors for having all A's and B's. I feel like that requirement should be mainly based on, especially since most honor students are in orgs and stuff, too, it should mainly just based on your campus environment. Like, maintain a 3.0, but also what orgs are you in? What are you contributing?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's hard to track, but I definitely think, like, you could do something. Like, oh, my gosh, my resume would be freaking crazy if I had to do that. I'd be like, this organization and this organization.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying, like, you got to do 5.
But yeah, but you're right. But, like, no, I get what you're saying, for
like,
sure.
Because I know, like, in high school, it's kind of like the National Honor Society in high school, where, like, you still in your honors AP classes, but the requirement is really, like, what you're doing and how to get in is what you're doing the campus. Like, what you're put in is what you get out, and which I think it have a lot more people be interested in it, because I know a lot of people who see the honors from the outside, and even a lot of people in honors, they kind of, when I have discussions with them, they be like, I don't know if this is just worth it, because it's just, what's the point? Or like, I'm stressing for these grades, I'm stressing for this community service, while also I'm doing the orgs, while also I'm working full time.
Right.
So I'm a nursing major. So
Yeah.
I think with those regulations like that, not only, I mean, I guess you could say it's just condensing it down, but I feel like that will give you more bright students and more engaged students who are willingly want to do that, because there's a lot of students who are honors ready and who are honor students just walking around that's not actually in the program. Right.
I also think like they can make it more worth too. I think that would add to it as well. Just kind of like, oh, you're in honors and you get some more benefit to it as well.
I'm also an honors student, and I also recently wrote a staff ed about volunteering, and I got to talk to some people from honors and some people from kind of places that volunteer or places that offer volunteer opportunities in the community. And I think Paris makes a really good point that it is kind of a strict requirement, but I think you can also get a lot out of volunteering, so it definitely shouldn't be understressed, I guess, the importance of that.
Yeah. Now, to add on, like, volunteering is important and community service is important. I wasn't talking per se get rid of that. I was just per se like along as GPA requirement.
Yeah, if you're gonna ask for this, and this, then lower that.
Like, be more lenient. Like, if somebody has a 3.0, but they like in 9 orgs and they're working while also doing community service, I feel like they should be honored than somebody who's like 3.3, but it's just strictly education and community service, because somebody's like showing they're more well-rounded, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it's definitely case by case.
For sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up volunteering, because now I get to shout out my story that I forgot I wrote because I wrote it so long ago. But it is coming out in this edition. It was my matter of opinion, where I talked about why you should volunteer even before college, but especially if you haven't before, you should do it while in college. But no, go ahead.
And I think like another topic I had, it's not with every org and it's not with every higher up in SIUE. But I feel like sometimes, depending on the org and depending on the situation, it feels like there's kind of a gap between it. I talk to a lot of people in a variety of orgs, and sometimes they feel like they're members of the org, but they're not really members of the org because the connection between the members and the e-board is so far off that they're kind of just like stats or statistics in the org. Like, you're there for the meetings, you're there to do volunteers, but it's like you're not really getting no involvement in it per se. And I know with that, especially with the Alestle, but not only that, with other orgs, they kind of feel like that too with a lot of the people who work at SIUE and stuff. And I know, like, with the chancellor, he's obviously a busy man, so he's doing that. But even with people like that, it feels like it's just a disconnect. It feels like, okay, we're there, we're seen, but it's not like valued per se.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think for orgs is very important to make sure, like, even if it's an org of 100 people, that all 100 people feel like they're somewhat offering something to the table, as opposed to just like, oh, I'm just going to the meetings and say I'm in an org.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I agree. All right, well, that will carry us right into our ending chapter of our show, which is, of course, obsessions. So before I give it over to you, I'll give you mine, give you a moment to think. My obsession has been a video game that came out not too long ago, a couple weeks now, called Dispatch. And it is a telltale game about a superhero who's not a superhero. He's a guy in a mech suit. And basically the mech suit breaks down, and now he's a dispatcher for these heroes, in air quotes, because they're basically like recovering villains. It's a great story. My entire friend group and I have like played it or watched through it. We've been discussing our decisions and debating our decisions as well. But no, it was a really good game. And now they're talking about, with its success, they might be doing a season 2 of it. So very exciting stuff, if I do say so myself. But that is my obsession for the week. Anyone have something glaring?
So I'm a huge fan of Dune, the books and the movies.
Yeah.
And recently, because it was on sale on Steam, I bought a game called Dune Spice Wars.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a real-time strategy game based in the universe of Dune, and I've been pouring so many hours into it. Anytime I have free time, it's so fun and it's so addicting, and just everything having to do with Dune has kind of been like swallowing up my life lately.
That's so fair. Normally that's my hockey team, but they really suck right now, so it's definitely not swallowing my life. But no, that's a great obsession.
My obsession, literally for the past 6 months, has been nostalgia.
Nostalgia?
Yeah, and to elaborate more on it, it's just old stuff that just give me good memories. Like, I catch myself, I'm watching old sports games. Like, I just watched the whole 2013 Stanley Cup Finals, with the Blackhawks in it, or like,
okay, well,
or like I watched like 2016 finals, or like even with music, I've only been listening to like 2000s, early 2010 hits for like the past 4 months. I don't know why that's my obsession. I don't know when it started.
really cool obsession, by the way. Probably the coolest I've heard on
Or
any.
even like old TV shows. Like I'm on
Yeah, no, that's
Disney
great.
XD and stuff, and Disney Plus, just watching old shows.
By the way, if you
Yeah.
need a good Stanley Cup final, you should check out 2019. That's a great year.
Nope.
Paris.
I'm
Paris,
a Blackhawks fan, so
And you and Sophie are awful.
and a Cubs fan too.
Okay, I don't really care that much
Wow.
about that.
Are you from up north?
I'm from Alton, but my family is from Chicago. So
Gotcha.
So you were born with traitors. It's okay. It's okay. They just corrupted you.
yeah, no, my dad, he'd be mad because he was raised in St. Louis. Because when my
So
dad,
he's a Blues fan. He's a normal person.
Blues, Cardinals.
Oh my goodness. What is?
I
with
wouldn't
all-
say normal because he liked the Cowboys. but-
Okay, well, yeah, that's fair. That is a mark against him. But still, come on, Paris. What's there to like about? Well, I guess there's a lot to like about Chicago now. Maybe not so much.
With
of you-
Bedard now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you can have those
Yeah,
moments.
but nostalgia has just been like, I've been on a big throwback.
That's really cool.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that. I kind of do the same thing sometimes. I don't know. I think about nostalgia a lot and like, what's the stuff that I'm kind of nostalgic for now, and what am I gonna be nostalgic for in like 10 years from now or
Yeah.
whatever. It's a cool thing to think about.
But it's not even like on a thing of like reminiscing, like, oh, I remember the old days, or
Yeah.
take me back when the times was better. But I think sometimes, especially with college, because you're such in a work now mode, you kind of forget about certain stuff, or like it kind of jogs back your memory. Because like I had a break. I was scrolling on TikTok, and I remember the show Kicking It off Disney XD. I was like, man, I used to like Kicking It all the time. I got Disney Plus. Let me watch Kicking It. Or like, I was chilling with my grandma and stuff, and we was listening to music. I was like, man, I used to listen to this song all the time when I was like 9. Let me listen to it again. So it's just kind of like a natural,
Yeah. Feel good.
a natural like coming back to it. And now it's like, that's all I'm on right now.
For sure. All right. Well, with that, we're going to be a bit nostalgic for most of our listeners because we go on such a long break with Thanksgiving, and then we have our built-in break, and so that means Alestletics will not be out next week. So sad. We basically covered Alestletics in this episode. Let's face it, it happens every time. But you can check out our next episode from any of the Alestle podcasts. That will be on December 13th. It'll follow the December 11th print edition. So you can pick up a copy of the Alestle on December 11th and then listen to everything about it on December 13th. And then that week following, during break, Audrey and I have committed to coming in and recording an episode of Alestletics. So that'll be on December 20th. As for now, we will see you, I guess, after Thanksgiving. What a long time. Why did they do this to me? This is the schedule they give me and that I had to make up, and I just realized that it's like so long. It's like almost a month. But anyway, point aside, you can follow us on Instagram. You can follow Alestletics on X, and you can follow the Alestle on alestlelive.com, Instagram, TikTok, etc., etc. As for now, we'll be joining you after those 3 weeks with a whole new episode of Alestle After Hours, so stay tuned for that here on Spotify or YouTube. We will see you again soon.